Today I'm going to show you how to build a gorgeous customized contact form on your Wix site that's beautiful and branded to your website. First of all, I want to show you this one here on a site that I built. It's an event coordinator, and they've added all these custom fields in here so that when somebody types in their form on their site, they're not just getting their name, their email, and their phone number and maybe a message. They're getting a lot of information that they can use to qualify their lead, and that they can use so that when they have their first conversation with this customer, they're already way ahead of the game. They already know, for example, if you look on here, they already know the date of the event, the time of the event, where it is, what kind of event they're looking for, the guest count, all these details they've already got, so that when they first talk to that customer, they're miles ahead of where they would be had they just asked for a name, email, and phone number. If the people even filled out that form, I think people are much more likely to fill out a form like this that asks for this information than they are just to fill out a very generic looking form. So first of all, let's go over to the editor, and I'll put myself down here, of the website that I have been working on here, make myself a little smaller, and we're going to go to the contact page on this site. So on your website editor, up over on the left-hand corner, if you click down here, I've already got a contact page started on here. There's nothing on it, but there it is. And so here we are. Here's the contact page. Here we've got all we've got is the header with the logo and the menu and a section in the middle and the footer at the bottom. That's it. It's just blank. So let's talk about how we're going to put a contact form on here. Where are we going to find it? So there are 4 ways that you can add a contact form onto your website. The first way is to add a page. So if you go into Manage Pages, and you can go from here into Manage Pages, or you can go from the from the pages into Manage Pages. And so you can add a page. And here we're going to add a page. And when we click up on there, you get choices here, and there are contact pages on here. So you could go in here and you could add a contact page. There you go. And use any one of these. I'm not a fan of these. I don't use these myself. First of all, most of them have maps on them. And if you've got a business that is not a brick and mortar business where people are going to come and visit you, if you're just online, or if you don't really want people just showing up, don't put a map on your website. There's no reason to. For something like a restaurant, of course, yes. But for this business, which is an online art business, no. So you could use this one here if you wanted, and we'll preview that. Let's see what it looks like. So that's what this page looks like, and that's an easy way to do it. You can just add a page that way. But I like to do it myself. And the reason why is you're just more customizable that way. You know how you've done it. It's not hard. So the second way you can find contact forms are by adding a section. So I'm going to click up here on Add a Section. And here are some other examples. So we go down here, there's all different kinds of sections you can add. So we can add contact in here. And again, there's a bunch of forms that pop up here. You can try these if you want as well. And with these, you just drag them over. I'll drag this one over and pop it in, and there it is. And of course, this one doesn't really have a form in it. That's more just a contact information, but some of them did have forms. So I'm going to go into the undo and get rid of that one. And we'll go into the third way that you can add a contact form. Third way you can add a contact form is by strips. So you're going to go add elements, and then you're going to go over to strip. And again, here's contact. And here are some contact forms in here. These are of the ones that are pre-built for you, these are my favorite ones. And I like this one, although I change everything, I'm not going to use that bright color. And I like this one here. They're both kind of pretty. So let's add that one on there. And you can edit this one in here. All right, so you've got 2 columns. You can change the picture out here. You can go in here, change this font, change the, what it says, all that, change this font, change the background of this column, etc., etc. And use this one. This is, as I said, my favorite one of the ones that are pre-made for you. But I'm not going to use that one. So I'm going to undo that. We're going to use something that's kind of similar to this though. Undo. I'm going to just delete the. Now the fourth and final way that we're going to actually use to put a contact form on the page, I will show you where that is located. But first I'm going to add a strip to the page so that I'm building on a strip because I know I'm going to use a column. And so I'm going to add element. I'm going to add a strip on here and I'm going to add a classic strip. I just want a white one. I'm going to drag the white one over and put this up here, drag it down so a little bit wide. And I'm going to add a column to this strip. First, I'm going to change the strip background because all strips are, this looks white, but it's not white. And I'll show you. See, you can see if you're not hovering over it that it's a slightly off-white color, eggshell maybe. And so I'm going to go into change strip background. I'm going to change the color to white, which is always FFF. Black is 0000000. And then I'm also going to add a column because I'm going to make this kind of like that last one I showed you that was pre-made with a picture on one side and a contact form on the other side. So I'm going to add now. I'm going to go into add and we're going to add a contact form. So we're going to go down to contact form. So you can see in here there are contact form, order form, registration, donation, application, lots of kind of pre-made forms for you. And so you choose whatever is closest to what you want and use that one. And then you've got all these Google Maps down in here. And if you add a map, if you do have a store or a restaurant or you know, an office where people come, if you're a therapist or a massage therapist, this is where you go to get a map that you can drag over. And you can usually find a map in here that will go with your site branding because there's just tons of them and they look really nice. And you can customize those as well, but we'll get to that another day. I'm going to drag this one over. Well, let me see. Let's do this one plain. Okay, I'm going to drag this over here and I'm going to attach it to this column. So that means that if I click on the strip here and move it around, the contact form will move with me. And so just to make it pretty right off the bat, we're going to change this column background and go into some of my clients' gorgeous images, and we're just kind of randomly pick one to sit there, fill up the page a little bit. Let's see. I know, I see, this is what I spend all my time on when I design websites is choosing pictures. All right, let's just do this one here. This is actually the walk from my house to get over to the beach because this client lives near me. So this is just about a block and a half away, but it's dark out right now. So if you go into preview up here, that's what it looks like right now. That's what our contact page looks like right now. So we're going to make this look better. Okay, first of all, what is the contact form here? What it is, it's a box, and this box moves with everything inside the box, and all these little things inside the box are separate. So these fields are separate, the submit button is separate, the success message is separate, and the form title is separate. I don't love form titles. I always take them off. So I'm going to right click on that and delete it. And partly is because when you go into mobile, when you go to format the mobile version, I like to be able to move the title around how I want it and style it how I want it. So I'm going to move that down and keep the box around the form tight into the fields. So then I'm going to add some text, and let's use the accent font and let's make it something friendly like get in touch. All right, so we've got that done. So now we've got the box and we've got our fields. Now the fields aren't attached inside this box. I can click on one of them and I move it around anywhere I want to. So that also means that I have to pay attention to where they are, how close they are to each other, that everything's all kind of organized and lined up properly. So you have to pay attention to that. So if you click on the form, you'll notice that up above is this toolbar here that has all these little buttons on it. Let's look at form settings for a moment. And we aren't even customizing the form yet. I'm just going to show you this. This is sort of how the form works. So view submissions table will send you to a place where you're looking at all the submissions that you've received from people signing up with this form or filling it out. Settings, you can name this form Contact Us. If you have a bunch of different forms on your website and you have them on different pages, say for example, you had 3 different services and you put a form on each of the service pages, you could make this the name of each form based on what the service is. And that way, when you receive the contacts from the people, when you receive emails from the people and how they show up in the in your contact list in the back of Wix, you can see which form they filled out. And so then there's email notifications. That tells Wix what emails you want notifications to go to. So if I fill out this form, what email is going to get told, hey, somebody's filled out your form. And you can have more than one person get the notifications. So you could have you and your assistant or something like that. Submissions table, again, that shows all the submissions you've received from this form. Form submission limit, that is, it says, set a submission limit or a deadline, which is useful if you're having a contest or something like that. And autofill for the form. That's if you have members and they've already signed up for your site and they've put information into your site, you can have them the forms autofill. And the subscriber double opt-in is obvious. So then there's the submit message. I have a problem with the word submit. I like send better. And I always say thanks for getting in touch or thanks for connecting or something like that. And then you can decide how long you want, up to 10 seconds, how long this little thing shows up after somebody sends your form in, which I don't know, I think that's kind of silly. I think what difference does it make? 8 seconds, 10 seconds? Anyway. But you have a choice. And up here, when the visitors submit a form, you can show this little submit message, or you can have them directed to a page or a light box. A light box is one of the pop-ups that you can have on your site, or you can link it to an external URL. You can send them to another website. You could send them to your Instagram page. You could send them wherever. And then this is an upgrade to Ascend Business Tools. You can link to a download file. But you can also do a workaround for this, because if you sent them to another page with a download available on it, that would work around for this ability. And so oftentimes you use this for a lead magnet. So you say, hey, I've got this video, or I've got this checklist, or get 10% off, something like that. Give me your name and email and sign up for my mailing list. And then you might want them to go to a site page or a lightbox or an external URL to get whatever it is that you're giving them. And then there's the ability to accept payments, the ability to make rules. So if I, check one box, I'll get, one question. If I check another box, I'll get a different question. You can add rules. You can add just a certain amount of rules. Contacts, save submission to contacts, and that's choose fields. So right now on this list, the first name, the last name, and the email are being saved to contacts. And I think the fourth one, the read a message, is not being saved to contacts, but you can change that as well. Automations, you can send them a thank you email. You can create a new task and send a chat message down here. And email marketing, and this is just about send marketing, that sort of thing. So that's all this stuff, lots of stuff you can do with this. So there's so many ways, as you can see, there's so many kinds of forms. There's so many things you can do with them. So really use your imagination and don't let yourself necessarily just stick with this one contact form on your website. So next we're going to go into the editing of the actual form, the way that it looks. And the first thing I want you to do is click on the form here, and you've got add new field, and then you've got elements, and ta-da, those are exactly the same. Don't ask me why. I don't know. And so we've got add new field and elements, which are the same. And then we've got layout, which is a little bit different. And then we've got the design. So the first thing I want to go in and do is kind of format the design, the overall design of all the fields all at once as much as I can. So if I go into custom design here and I have the option to edit the look of the input fields, the submit button, and the form background. So first of all, I'm going to go click on the input fields and I'm going to have the opportunity to change the background. So for example, in there we go. It always has a hard time clicking in sometimes. So I could change the background. I'm probably not going to keep it this way. And that's how that works. I'm going to change I can change the border. So I can make the border this, which is this line. The bottom line is a border just on one side. And I can make that any color I want. I can make it on all sides, or I can make it not there at all. So I'm going to make it not there at all. I'm just going to have the gray, and then I can also change the corners and make it round on the corners so that it would have this kind of an appearance, but I want them to be square. And I also have the option to apply a shadow, which I think shadows look really cool. I don't use them. I try to use them to a minimum. Like on this website, for example, I want everything to look really flat and kind of elegant, but shadows tempt me. And then the text. Now the text that you get on any given form is what that form was styled in. So since I've already formatted over here in my site design button, I've already formatted for the fonts and the colors, I can just go in here and I can go down and where it says theme, right now the font is Futura, but I'm going to go in and go change it to my paragraph 2, which is Avenir Light. And then I'm going to go down and do the input text. And this is what, when people type in, when they type in the message, this is how the text will look. So I'm going to make that the Avenir Light as well. All right, so right now, here is what the form looks like. And I'll show you something that you always have to be careful of. So here we're going to go into preview. And when I hover over this, it's changing back to the way it was before. And there we go. We got a red line. So see, all this stuff is happening on here. What is that? So let's go back to the editor, because a lot of people just go into the forms, they change the way the form looks, set it live, and then they wonder why all that stuff's happening. Well, I'll show you why. If you go back in form design and custom design and go into the input fields, this button up here, now this is what it looks like regular, like right now. You know, when you just look at it, first of all, this is what it looks like when you hover over it. This is what it looks like when you're going to actually type into it. And this is what it looks like when somebody doesn't put in a field that needs to be there. Like this little asterisk right there means that you have to put in an email or it's an error. So that's why the red line is showing up. But you can, to a certain degree, edit all of those. So here's the regular. And for the hover, I don't want those lines to be coming up at the bottom, but I do want the background to be coming up still. Now, what was my background for the first one? Now I've forgotten. Okay, so I've got this gray at 37%. So when they hover, I'm going to go this gray at 37%. That's what it looks like without hovering. And let's make that go a little lighter when you hover over it. Make it go down to 10%. Well, let's do 15. And then when you focus on it, when they actually can write their message in it, let's keep it at that 15. And I'm moving this button across. I can also click on this percentage, type it in, do it that way as well. Okay, so right now the regular, and take a little bit of time to do this. The regular is at 30. Play around with these until you get it so it looks right to you. So there's the regular, there's the hover, and there's what it's going to look like when the people type in their information. And I'm going to leave that line at the bottom for this. And then for the error message, the width, I'm going to change so there's no background. The border is just the red, just on the bottom. And I'm going to change that to only 1 pixel wide because I don't like that really wide red line. So now if I go into preview, here's what the form looks like right now. If I hover over, I get that light color gray. If I click on, I get the line coming up below, and then I can type in my name, Fred. and so on and so forth. And if I don't type in an email, there you go. There's the red line that comes up if I don't type something in there. So we'll go back to the editor. All right, so now we've got the fields set up aesthetically how we want them. So back into the design, and I can custom design and go to the button, and I can change the background of the button, the hover of the button, which I don't mind, but I could change that to any colors that I want. There's a border that shows up during the hover, so I don't want to change that. And the text I'm going to change it to my custom text. I think I'm going to change it to the biggest one, the biggest paragraph. And again, I could put a shadow on here, but I'm not going to do that. And the corners. And I want this to be square or rectangular. All right, so that's that. That's the submit button. And then the form background, I can do all the same things. I can make, I could make it color if I wanted it to be, which obviously, as light as dark as possible, or as I want, but obviously I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it white, and I'm actually just going to leave it transparent. And I could make borders, a border that goes all the way around this box here, or I can change the radius. I could curve on the corners, and again I can add a shadow if I want, which would look like that, but I'm not going to. And the last thing I can change is success message, and I can edit the text on the success message. I'm going to change it to and I'm going to make that bold. I'm going to change it to our site text. All right, so I've done everything that I can to sort of change the way this looks. And I've got things pretty much set up how I want them. One more thing before we go into adding the field. If I go into the layout, which we haven't been in yet, this asks me if I want to show field titles. This is a field title up here, and I'm not big on field titles. I like first name, I like that to be down inside the field. I like that better. So I'm going to take that off in a sec. And the field title padding is how long, how far it is from the side to the middle and between the field and the field title. So that just that out. So you can change this if you want to. Some people like to have, and you can do this, some people like to put a field title and then put something underneath. So you'd say, write a message at the top. And then in here in the placeholder text, which is what it's called when you put text inside here, it could say, tell us how we can help you, something like that. And the text alignment just decides where text goes on top of the boxes. The placeholder padding, that's going to change the where the placeholders are, which we're going to put space between rows, so that you can move it around more with this as well. So as you can see, you can really make this however you want to have it. This is really customizable. You can really play with this. But the outcome is you're going to, like I showed you on the other website, going to have something that really looks like it was custom designed for your site. All right, last thing we're going to look at, and the most fun thing, are the fields. And then we'll talk about placeholder text after that. So what happens when you add a field is it's going to change all the order around. You're going to have to reorder it. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'm going to move down the strip a little bit there and give myself some room. And now I'm going to add a new field. And we have first name, last name, obviously the really easy ones. reCaptcha is when you want to put in, the little checkbox for people, so you ensure you're not getting bots. I want to add that one. I want to take that out. Okay. All right. And you've got autocomplete address. You can have phone and country code, multi-line address that asks, country and state and all that sort of thing. You can just have a one-line address. You can have birthday. I think that will ask, show a calendar so that they can do the date. And terms checkbox, that's where they check off something saying they've read your terms. Those are the ones that just pop up the minute you open this. Basic fields, and let's just go down up here. Anti-spam is the reCaptcha one again. Advanced fields are file upload and a signature field if you're doing things like contracts and whatever you might want to use file upload for. And those are both in the Ascend business tools, so you have to upgrade to an Ascend account for that. Basic fields. All right, here are the fun things: the short answer, long answer, number, the radio buttons, checkbox, multi-checkbox, drop down, rating. This is my favorite because it has pictures. In the date field, time field, URL, subscriber opt-in, and the reCaptcha, of course. So let's just let's do a multi-checkbox in here. So I'm going to add this, and it's going to add it in, and it now thinks we have a pizza restaurant. So as you can see, this has reordered things around. Now I don't want this checkbox. I want the last thing to be asked is, do you have anything else to tell me? So I'm going to move this box down. I'm going to move this up here, and I'm going to customize this. So I'm going to edit the field. I'm going to edit the field title. It's a little pig to type. What type of photo are you looking for? This is not going to be the way this site is eventually, because I wouldn't put it that way for her site, but just an example. So what type of photo are you looking for? So then I go into managed choices, and I'm going to delete these, and then I'm going to edit this one, portrait, and then I'll edit this one, add one, add a choice, add a choice. Okay, so now I've got these check boxes here, and that means that you can, multi-checkbox means you can check any of them that you want. So you can play around with all the fields that are available to you in the basic fields. Radio buttons, add that. That's how that one looks. Click one. I'm going to delete this one. Let's add a date. Okay, so you have a selected date and preview, and so we have this calendar. Cool. Back to the editor. All right, so as you can see, this form, I'm going to drag this down a little bit, and I'm going to tighten the outsides of the form into the form a little bit, because I'm not using a background, so I don't care how much many margins there are on the form. And this is where it starts getting, you have to look at what you're moving, because sometimes you'll click on part of the form, think you're going to move the button, and you move the whole form. So be patient, around carefully, and there we go. Now I'm going to bring the bottom of the form up. I'm going to bring the bottom of the strip up, and there we have the form. Now the last thing I want to do, as I told you, I like things to be in placeholders. So I'm going to go to each of the fields, and I'm going to edit the field, and I'm going to show placeholder text, the placeholder text, first name, and I'm going to make that required. I want people to have to fill that out. And then I'm going to go edit field, and I'm going to make this required, and I'm going to make the placeholder text last name. And while I'm in here, you can also go into settings, and you can add, this is where you can add more rules. I can go into individually change the text alignment of the field, just like I went into this paintbrush and this layout. When I was on the whole form, I went into this paintbrush and this layout, and I changed them universally all at once. I can also individually change the way they look, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to edit this field. I'm going to make placeholder text and email, and it's going to be about place. There is placeholder text on there. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to write how, and then I'm going to select a date. It already has selected date on it as placeholder text. So then I'm going to go click on the whole form. I'm going to click on the layout, and then I'm going to get rid of all the field type, and that's how my form get to look like this instead of with all the form fields on the top. I'm going to add a little animation to this. Let's have that float in from the side. I'm going to add a little animation to my form. So I'm going to click on this animation button, and I'm going to have it float in, but I don't want it from the side. I want it to go from the bottom. So I'm going to click that and have it come in from the bottom. And we're going to preview this now and see how it looks. So that's how the form looks right now. And I'm going to style this a little bit differently for this website, but I just wanted to go through and show you what everything does and how it all works. And if I filled out this form and clicked submit, then I would get that little success message here. And that's it. That's how we'll go back to the other one. That's how you do all of these things. So for this one, I didn't have the placeholder text. I just used the titles, but we have the date, we have the time as I showed you before, we've got all the check boxes, and then there are some that have the fields or the placeholder in there. And yeah, so that's how you do that. You should always put a contact form on your website, but you're really missing out if you don't customize it. If you just throw the name, phone number, email address, message, contact form on there, you don't really learn anything about them. You don't know who it is who's contacting you. But if you ask questions in your contact form, you can qualify your leads. Now, what's qualifying a lead? Qualifying a lead means that you know ahead of time, or you have a better idea ahead of time, whether or not this client is going to be a good fit for you and whether or not you're going to be a good fit for them. Now, for example, on my contact form, I ask people what service of mine they're interested in or what kind of website they're interested in, because that's what I do. So if they go to my services page, they see the different things that I offer, and my basic website is called Just a Website. That's how I refer to it. And if they, in the contact form, under services, say that they want just a website, I know for sure that they've been to my services page, they've read about what is included in that, they know how much it costs, and so we're much further ahead when we have our first conversation. I know that they may be a good fit for me, and they know that I may be a good fit for them. When you have information about your customer, you have an idea who you're speaking with, and it's a lot easier to find commonality. And commonality always helps connect with them as a potential customer or client. Thanks so much for watching. Meet me in the next video, which is about how to upload images to your Wix website. If you liked this video, please hit the subscribe button for more on how to build a website yourself from scratch.